Let's stop kidding ourselves for a second. Handing your kid over to a stranger for 8 hours a day, that feels like a low-key existential crisis. You want to believe that Auntie Linda at the local daycare is out there enriching your child's soul, reading them poetry, teaching them empathy. And maybe she is. But here's the thing about babies that nobody really talks about. They are the most unfiltered communicators on the planet. They haven't learned how to lie yet. They haven't learned how to people please or smile through it or pretend everything's fine just to keep the peace. They don't have words, but they have a hell of a lot of data. So if your gut is screaming and you can't figure out why, you're probably already reading that data. You just haven't translated it yet. Today, we're talking about the silent red flags, the subtle body language shifts that tell you if your kid's daycare is a sanctuary or a dumpster fire for their development. The first one, I call it the rigid reunion. The pickup window, those first 5 minutes when you walk through the door at the end of the day, that is the most honest moment you're going to get. Most parents are expecting something close to a Hollywood reunion, arms reaching out, maybe some happy crying, a baby who's visibly relieved you exist, and a lot of the time that's what you get. But sometimes you walk in, your baby looks at you and essentially turns into a statue, stiff, flat, like they're not quite sure what to do with you being there. That's not tiredness, that's a pattern called avoidant attachment. And in developmental psychology, it's a signal worth paying attention to. What it usually means is that the environment has been chaotic or emotionally cold or just plain overwhelming for long enough that your baby has learned something really unfortunate, that expressing a need doesn't get a response. So they stop expressing needs. They regulate themselves down to almost nothing just to get through the day. If your kid looks like they've just finished a double shift and they don't want to be touched, they're not being a brat. They are exhausted from being on guard. The second thing to watch for is a lot subtler. It's about noise. Life is loud. Kids are loud. Daycares are loud. None of that is inherently a problem. The problem is when your baby stops being able to tolerate normal noise levels. When a door closes across the room and they flinch. When you sneeze and they look terrified. When a spoon drops and their whole body reacts like something just exploded. That's not a quirky personality trait. That's a nervous system that has been running on high alert for too long. In environments where there's constant chaos, where staff are managing rooms by raising their voices, where nothing feels predictable, a baby's cortisol levels stay elevated. The stress response never gets a chance to come back down, and over time, they become sensitized to everything. Every sound is a potential threat. Every unexpected thing is something to brace for. That is not a growth environment. That is a survival environment. Number 3 is one most parents misread completely. Regression. Progress is not a straight line. Every parent knows this. Kids have off weeks, they backslide, they figure something out and then seem to forget it entirely for a month. That's just development. It's messy and it's non-linear, and that's normal. But there's a version of this that isn't just a rough patch. If your toddler had something down, using a spoon, sleeping through the night, staying dry, and suddenly they're acting like a much younger child again, across the board, consistently, that's not a rough patch, that's regression. And regression is almost always a communication. What it's usually communicating is something in my world feels unsafe, and I need to go back to a place that felt more manageable. Think of it as the brain's reverse gear. When the present feels too big and too unpredictable, when a child is being understimulated or ignored or pushed harder than they're ready for, they go back to an earlier version of themselves where they knew what to expect. And if you bring this up to your daycare and the response is, oh, they're just being difficult, that's a problem. Not because it's wrong exactly, but because difficulty in a child is almost never the whole story. Difficulty is usually distress, wearing a different outfit. And the last one, this one's the hardest to catch because it looks like nothing. There's a look some kids get, and if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You walk in to pick up and your kid is just sitting there, not playing, not fussing, not engaged with anyone or anything around them, just staring at something that isn't really there. The lights are on and nobody's home. A lot of parents hear quiet baby and think, great, easy day. But that's not what this is. Clinically, this is called dissociative withdrawal. And what it means is that the child has essentially learned that their environment doesn't respond to them. They reach out with sounds, with movement, with eye contact, and nothing comes back. So eventually, they stop reaching. They go internal because the external world has given them too little reason to stay engaged with it. A healthy baby is curious. Even a tired baby is interested in something. When a child has gone fully flat, not tired flat, but checked out flat, that's the signal that the responsiveness they need just isn't there. Boredom is one thing. This is apathy. They are not the same. So, here's what you actually do with all of this. If you're seeing one of these signs, not just once, not just a Monday, but consistently over time as a pattern, write it down. Put a date on it, note the context, and then bring it to the daycare and watch what happens next. Because here's the thing, a good provider will take it seriously. They'll want to know, they'll ask questions. They might not have a perfect answer, but they will engage with you like your concern is legitimate, because it is. A provider who gets defensive, who makes you feel like you're being difficult or overprotective, or like you just don't understand how these things work, that reaction is data too. And honestly, sometimes it tells you more than anything else. You are not being paranoid. You are not that parent. You are doing the actual job, which is to hear what your kid is saying when they don't have the words to say it yet. They have a body. It's talking. Your only job is to listen.